Is it normal to never want to drive a car? As someone with a lifelong fear of driving, I can confidently announce that other people do not like driving you places for free a lot. Taxis and Uber, Lyft and so forth are fine, of course, but this is an expensive way to live. In American society, at least. Yes, it is normal not to want to drive yourself, and I also think that it's hard to understand for the people to whom driving comes naturally. We've gotten so used to cars and driving that we don't actually realize anymore that cars are basically killing machines that weigh tons and move at ridiculous speeds. People just happen to be able to control them until they don't. And yes, you can argue that what I just said is taking things very radically. But if a person does not feel comfortable and is not sure of one's abilities, then it's much more safe for that person not to drive themselves. And as long as they don't live off of other people's kindness, then in my opinion it's fine. Yes, I got my license at 28, drive for 4 years, and I have not driven since 2011. I do enjoy the freedom, just not the expense when it's not needed. I think it shows responsibility to steer clear. Apologies for that pun if you feel you wouldn't be a safe driver. You might change your mind later in life, it's never too late to learn. I realized when I was learning to drive that my concentration issues made me unsafe to be in front of the wheel. I was at the point where I was a relatively confident driver and was getting used to it all, but it would have been a matter of time before I caused an accident. I'm lucky to be in a well-connected area with public transport, but I think as long as you're not mooching off others to get around, there's no shame in not driving if it's not for you. I'm 26 and still don't have my license, no desire to drive. We are rare though, so I assume it's not normal. People treat me like crazy. We had a good friend who has a daughter that never wanted to learn. I think around age 30 or so she decided it was time when she was going to have a child. You could change your mind. I got my license in 2018 and used it like 10 times. Don't like driving in cities, don't have a car, and don't have a need for a car at the moment. It's good to have a license just in case y'all need to rent a car somewhere, but there's nothing with you not wanting to drive. No, but it should be. I 39 have been driving since I was 12, the 90s, always loved it. Then 2020 head-on collision, not our fault, everyone okay. Then 2023 head-on collision, not our fault, everyone okay. I am no longer comfortable driving. I do when I have to, but mainly I just ride my bike. That's my normal, I bike everywhere. Live life your way and y'all be normal in no time. Stay positive. I have lots of friends like that. In my household of 3 young adults, I'm the only driver. It's not necessarily a problem most of the time, but they are often quite dependent on me to be able to do a lot of the legwork necessary for our household functioning. Because of their choice not to drive, I am responsible for all grocery trips larger than 1 backpack. Taking animals to the vet is also always reliant on me. One of my roommates even works at the same place as me, so I drive them to and from work every single day. This limits my ability to do things after work because I'm responsible for taking them home, and I need to ensure that they are ready in time for work in the morning or else I'm late. Basically, put yourself in the shoes of the people driving you around all the time and be aware of the service they are providing for you. It's becoming a norm nowadays, given all the Uber and Lyft drivers. Although I feel like everyone should drive a car at least, so you can have the experience of it. Still nothing wrong with that though. It's not normal, no. I'm sure other people have this fear. But if you're in America, approximately 91 of Americans have a valid driver's license and use it. You're allowed to have a preference, but we shouldn't pretend it's normal. Just a heads up, even if you're paying people, friends coworkers will eventually not take kindly to your preference. Driving is not difficult, and it starts to look lazier if you are constantly depending on other people to drive you. If your friend wants to go on a long trip with you and you don't offer to do half the driving, that would piss me off. I suggest learning to drive. You don't have to do it all the time, but you should have the ability to drive when it's needed. You make it sound like you're some prince from Dubai who doesn't want to put in effort and just pay their way out of responsibility. I don't know if it's normal, but same. I'm like that. To me and my lifestyle it just doesn't make any sense. I will never own a car. I have a bike and Uber taxi available. Plus I work on cruise ships, so my daily commute to work takes me about 90 seconds. No need for a car of. I have been driving for 15 and I can tell you the last 5 years I wish I didn't drive off. Important role plays in which country you live and drive. I guess in Scandinavian countries driving is much easier than in the Mediterranean. Yes. Mid-40s, never learnt to drive. I don't get car sick. I could read an entire novel in a car journey, and am a great passenger. I don't have kids. So learning to drive for me would be waste of money, and pointless right now still. I know some people that don't like to drive in specific situations, absolutely refuse to drive, like going over long bridges or anything. but when I was younger I couldn't wait to get my driver's license for the freedom. But to each their own. If you're not into it, then you're better off not driving. I am the polar opposite. I enjoy driving for no reason, cruising on the highway, or tearing up B-roads in my underpowered shitbox. All the while screaming through tunnels, feeling like I am breaking the sound barrier while not even breaking 200 km/h of matching for every corner roundabout, and hear the exhaust burble and pop. And when I get on it, the sound, the wind blowing by my open window. With each gear shift the car gives a loud bang out of the exhaust as I slam it into the next gear, absolutely hooning onto the on-ramp like I am leaving a F1 pit lane. I just love driving. I don't think I will. I'm too jumpy to drive. Even as a passenger, I'll squeak if a too fast motor drives by or a car is super close. I'm okay with just commuting. Maybe once I have my own family, driving would be a higher need to know.